audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props, or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk facts.
We're giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick.
Play it on the car ride, play it when you lounge. X and O, you know that we can hold it down. Shout out to my man Sammy, got it off the ground. And to all the listeners tuned in right now, got debates, analysis, and speculation. This is sports talk for the new generation. You know where to find us, got a reputation. Sick podcast, your #1 sports destination.
Giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick.
S-I-C-K, it's the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props, or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk back. S-I-C-K,
S-I-C-K.
S-I-C-K,
S-I-C-K.
S-I-C-K, S-I-C-K.
All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick.
S-I-C-K, it's the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props, or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk facts.
We're giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick.
Play it on the car ride, play it when you lounge. X and O, you know that we can hold it down. Shout out to my man Sammy, got it off the ground. And to all the listeners tuned in right now, got debates, analysis, and speculation. This is sports talk for the new generation. You know where to find us, got a reputation. Sick podcast, your #1 sports destination.
Giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick.
S-I-C-K, it's the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props, or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk back. S-I-C-K,
S-I-C-K.
S-I-C-K,
S-I-C-K.
S-I-C-K.
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to The Sick Podcast. With Tony Marinaro.
55 seconds left in the penalty, a minute and 27 seconds left in regulation time. Boston 4, Montreal 3. Lafleur coming out rather gingerly on the right side. He gives it into Lemaire, back to Lafleur. Oh!
The sickest Montreal Canadiens podcast.
You're in the ball!
Sports entertainment like no other.
Rejoint, on lui fait perdre la rondelle, une passe devant. Et c'est le dégagement et ce sera la victoire des Canadiens. Stanley pour les Canadiens, le 23e de l'histoire.
You found the dogs! John, you found the dogs! He found the dogs!
And all together, they worked a young team to the top. And now, a 24th Stanley Cup banner will hang from the rafters of the famous Forum in Montreal. The Canadiens win the Stanley Cup.
Brought to you by Energy Transportation Group. Driven to be different. La Vida Tibi. Embrace your true nature. And Playground, your premier gaming destination. It's gonna be sick.
Marinaro, the Sick Podcast, and this show is pre-recorded, so it's prior to Game 3 between the Florida Panthers and the Edmonton Oilers. Thank you for watching. And this show today is brought to you by the Ocean Sky Hotel and Resort at 4060 Galt Ocean Drive in Fort Lauderdale. This is a beautiful hotel, and one of the cool things about it, it's Montreal owned, of course. It's the Titan Group of hotels, and it's an amazing, amazing place. I've been coming here for a very, very long time. Might as well support Montreal, and there's a lot of Montrealers that stay here when they're vacationing in South Florida, and there's a lot of people from everywhere else around the world that stay here as well. Because once again, you see the beautiful palm trees in the background, the pool behind me, the hot tub to my right, of course, the beautiful ocean of South Florida and Fort Lauderdale. And the Sick Podcast is brought to you today by the Ocean Sky Hotel and Resort, and we thank them very much for having me here. We're going to get to some of our other sponsors a little bit later on in the program. Without further ado, I bring in from the fourth period, the NHL Network, and Sirius Satellite Radio, Dave Pagnotta. What's going on?
How are you, buddy?
I'm doing extremely well. The sun is out, so much so that I think we're going to put on the sunglasses right now. It's amazing, huh? It's funny because go for it. All right. Now it looks like Miami Vice.
Now we're good. Now we're good.
The Miami Vice podcast. Who would be Don Johnson? That'll be you.
I think you got that covered.
Thank you very much. All right, okay. One of the things we're going to talk about today is Nick Kypreos, of course, from Sportsnet. Had something out there in the Toronto Star on Sunday saying that the Montreal Canadiens are interested in Vegas Golden Knights 6'6" left-handed defenseman Nick Hague. So we're going to get to that as to what it means for Nick Hague, what it means for the Montreal Canadiens, what it means for other left-handed defensemen. Can he play right D? Who's going to stay? Who's on the move? All of that. But first and foremost, you're here, of course, covering the Stanley Cup Final. And with my son, a buddy of mine and his son, my buddy and his son are Florida Panther fans. It's one of the reasons why we're here. But, we were saying over the last couple of days that we've been walking around or driving around, why would NHLers want to play anywhere else if they had the chance to play in beautiful Florida? And I know that this conversation probably bothers some people. No, well, you'd want to play for an original six team. A lot of people are going to say, but let's be honest here, right? When you can show up to the rink in your shorts, in your T-shirt, in your flip-flops, when you know that when you leave the rink, you can go play golf, you can go fishing, you can go to the beach, that there's a lot of celebrities here and you probably won't be bothered all that much. The weather, the taxation. And I know that you had Gary Bettman on the Sirius Satellite Radio pregame show, yourself and Dennis Bernstein.
Yep.
And I think you tackled this because a lot of people are talking about it now. The Florida teams have been in the Stanley Cup Final for 6 consecutive years. And at some point, some are saying this can't be a coincidence anymore. Give me your thoughts on that, and what did Gary Bettman have to say about it when you brought it up with him?
He hates the subject. He hates the non-tax state or the tax-free state argument. Look, I do understand his side of things from a certain perspective. Before Tampa, before Vegas, well, Vegas was around, but let's say before Tampa and the Panthers were good, nobody really wanted to play here. And I've had, players around the league that have told me when Toronto was junk, they didn't want to play there. Winning has a lot to do with it. Now, if you keep winning, you keep the teams intact. Can you sign a guy for a little bit less because he's willing to stay here, and it'll be the trade-off of money here versus New York versus Montreal versus LA? That, yes, to a certain extent is a bit of an advantage. But overall, these guys, these athletes, they want to win. So I understand the tax issue from a certain perspective, but when you look at the Panthers roster, Tkachuk was a trade. He wasn't homegrown, and it wasn't a signing. Bennett was a trade. Reinhart was a trade. Yeah, Reinhart ended up signing and staying. Yes, Bennett is likely signing and staying for a tiny bit less than he would on the open market. But overall, these GMs have gotten really creative in how they've built their rosters. Same in Tampa, same in Dallas, Vegas. They've been very aggressive, as you know. The tax issue is a minimal issue, I think, at least from a league perspective. They don't buy it's a big argument.
But from my perspective, I think it's something that's absolutely real, because if you think about it, if players are willing to accept less to play in Florida because of taxation, and another team is going to have to pay them 10 per year when here they can get 7, or another team is going to have to pay them 7 when here they could probably end up getting the same amount for about 4.5 or whatever it is. Okay. You end up putting together a better team because you end up getting better players sticking around for less money.
Yeah.
That's the advantage.
Yes. And that's that, like, to a certain extent, because instead of signing for $9 million in wherever, New York, they're signing for 7.5 here or whatever it is. From a cap side of things, yeah, it's a bit of an advantage. But look at the Edmonton Oilers. Back-to-back Stanley Cup Final. They signed Leon Draisaitl to an 8-year extension. They're likely signing Connor McDavid. It's expected to be an 8-year extension. They want to stay there because they want to keep winning too. There's no beach in Edmonton. January, it's minus 30. It's kind of brutal from a weather side of things. So there's all those other elements that factor in.
That's true.
But for those guys, they want to win. And look, not everybody's going to be the same. Personally, I would much rather be out here than a joint like Edmonton. But for others, if the opportunity is there to win, they're locked in. And they like the other thing that Gary Bettman mentioned, especially out here and everywhere, they're taxed based on where they play. It's not exclusive. Like the advantage of anything is 41 games versus a full 82 because of half the seasons on the road.
I get that. So why don't they just work out a formula where no matter where you play, it's a different cap number for every team.
Then you're getting into crazy mathematics and jumbling, and the league wants to make it as simple as possible. I agree with I understand with what you're saying. Just from their side of things, they want to keep it as simple as possible. We even talked about, well, what about the potential of doing, averaging it out, whatever the average is across, the NHL. On a tax rate, that's the tax rate that's applied. But obviously, then you're getting into different type of economics that the league and they don't want to have those kinds of headaches.
Did you talk to Gary Bettman about the length of the season? Let's be honest. You and I are happy to be here on June 9th. I mean, there's worse things in life than being in Florida by the beach here and the beautiful ocean. But in an ideal world, do you agree with me that the Stanley Cup should probably come out on the last day of May, and June, July, and August should be vacation for the entire world type of thing?
I would like to see the season ending earlier as well. The league's not changing it. They like their now. Before last year, it was, I think, the beginning of June where the cup ended. Last year was the 24th. This year will be somewhere in the teens. The latest will be the 20th. Next season is going to be similar to last year because of the Olympics. Because they're going to have that gap in the schedule. We're probably finishing the Stanley Cup in the second half of middle to second half of June again. Before that was the beginning of June. I'd like to see it end of May, and then June we can kind of focus on free agency, draft, all that fun stuff. But the league's not going. They're not going to reduce it. They're not shifting the schedule. They don't want. The earlier you go, the more you have to battle the NFL and college football, which the NHL doesn't want to do. Now, one thing that they may end up doing is reducing and this is something they're talking about in CBA negotiations, and Gary Bettman acknowledged this. They've discussed the possibility of going from 82 games to 84 games, but reducing the amount of preseason games. So every team will play 3 or 4 preseason games, have it as a set number, and you gain 2 extra games in the regular season, 1 home, one away. And that's another possibility that they've been dissecting.
But if you start earlier, and you're going head-to-head versus the NFL that'll play games on Mondays, Thursdays, and Sundays, try to minimize the amount of games played on those nights.
But I agree. But their argument will be, well, from their side is the schedule makers and the broadcast partners, they've got to piece that all together. And a lot of it also has to deal with building availability. There are some clubs. I know LA, before the Clippers moved to their own building, for 41 home dates, the Kings submitted 45 options. So there was only 4-day leeway to kind of juggle and do it. Now, obviously, that's only one circumstance. There's other teams that have a lot more availability, but to try to accommodate travel, to try to make it as simple as possible rather than back and forth, it's a big pain in the butt. So we'll see what happens if they do go to 84 and how that reduces, and can they start earlier in September. But Gary was pretty adamant that they like their mid-September to mid-June kind of format.
Yeah, I want to add to this conversation, but I'm only going to do it at the end of our conversation because, of course, this is a Montreal Canadiens podcast, and a lot of Montreal Canadiens fans are interested to hear what we have to say about the rumor of the Canadiens being interested, as per Nick Kypreos, in Nick Hague, left-handed defenseman of the Vegas Golden Knights. The Sick Podcast is brought to you in part by Energy Transportation Group, a leading full-service logistics provider serving all of North America, driven to be different. Also brought to you in part by Playground. If you're looking for the ultimate entertainment destination, Playground is your ticket to nonstop thrills. Experience heart-pumping gaming action and a world-class poker experience. Playground is a 2025 winner of Fan Choice Best Poker Room at the Global Poker Awards. Indulge your taste buds at their incredible restaurants and let loose with live music, electrifying DJs. Enjoy unmatched customer service just minutes from downtown Montreal, right across the Mercier Bridge. Why settle for ordinary when you can have extraordinary at Playground? And also brought to you in part by Bittt Tibi. They launched their new Ultra Lager. It's a refreshing, thirst-quenching beer, perfect for the summer with only 90 calories, 2 grams of carbs, 4% ABV per can, available in a pack of 6 and 12 in grocery stores all around the province of Quebec. Ultra light, ultra refreshing. And once again, this podcast tonight was pre-recorded prior to Game 3 between the Florida Panthers and the Edmonton Oilers, and it's brought to you by the Ocean Sky Hotel and Resort in the famous Galt Ocean Mile in beautiful Fort Lauderdale. You have to check it out. This is the hotel of choice for Montrealers because it belongs to Montrealers and so many other tourists. All right, Nick Hague.
Yep, big guy.
Nick Kypreos reports this. Let's bring up his hockey DB if we can. And there you have it. And you'll see that he was drafted by Vegas in round 2, number 34 overall in the 2017 NHL entry draft. He's a Kitchener, Ontario boy who played for the Kitchener Dutchmen in the Go JHL and then on to the OHL with the Mississauga Steelheads for 3 years. From there, after being drafted, of course, by the Vegas Golden Knights, he begins his career in the American Hockey League with the Chicago Wolves, where he plays about a full season. Then plays some games with the Vegas Golden Knights, about 38. Ends up playing another 21 games in the American Hockey League. And then since then, in the last 5 seasons, he's been with the Vegas Golden Knights and has not gone back to the American Hockey League. And, of course, he was part of that team that won the Stanley Cup in 2022-2023. Let's take a look at Daily Faceoff and where he sets up on their depth chart. And there you have it. Braden McNabb and Shea Theodore on one duo, Hanifin and Pietrangelo on your other, and Whitecloud and Hague on your third duo. You see him at left D. He has played right D before.
Yep.
And now we'll take a look at his contract situation. So his contract situation will show you that he is an RFA. I don't know if we can bring it up. I think we have it. There you have it. He was previous cap hit was $2.294 million. He had signed the 3-year deal. Qualifying offer on expiry, which will give him the raise, will bring him to about $2.7 million. And, he's RFA at age 26. And if you're wondering why his name is out there, it's obvious that because after this year, he'll turn 27 after the next year, and then he becomes an unrestricted free agent. They're probably looking at him saying a 6'6", 27-year-old unrestricted free agent who can play both left D and right D will probably cost them a lot of money. We'll take a look at the Vegas Golden Knights to give all the context here for everyone listening and everyone watching, we'll take a look at Vegas's cap space compared to other teams. The Tampa Bay Lightning, as we speak, are the team that has the least amount of cap space, at $1.93 million, with 22 to 23 players under contract. Colorado at 1.975, Dallas at 4.1, and Vegas at 9.6, with 18 of 23 players under contract. So there's not a lot of cap space.
Yep.
An opportunity to go unrestricted free agency in 1 year from now. I think now it kind of all makes sense.
Yeah, they've got a couple other free agents that they need to deal with. They got to shore up their goaltending position as well. Samsonov's a free agent. They don't have wiggle room, and if they want to do anything impactful, and we know that Vegas is a team that is always aggressive. They always want to compete. I'm going to take a look at them in draft time and around July to see how active they're going to be. Can they supplement a little bit of offense by moving out a guy like Nick Hague? And I think that's what they're looking for. I think they're looking to bring in somebody that can slot into the top six. They have Olofsson. They have a few other free agents up front. But can they bring somebody in by moving out Hague, who is he's a strong body. He's a big piece on that blue line. He's right now an excellent third pair defenseman because of the depth that Vegas possesses. But he's a great second pair guy. Who's not afraid to get dirty, not afraid to drop the mitts. And at his age, 27 in December, there's a lot of miles left on those tires. And there are a lot of teams that want to, if they want a big physical bruising defenseman who can contribute a little bit offensively as well, this is a guy that a lot of teams are going to be checking in on. I know Philadelphia is one of them. Of course, Kiprios reporting that the Canadiens are another.
As well as Pittsburgh, you reported as well.
Pittsburgh, and I'm sure there are going to be a lot of other teams that are going to want to get their hands on this particular player.
The Canadiens would have no shortage of draft picks and prospects. I don't think it's going to cost a prospect, but if you want to give up draft picks for Nick Hague, I mean, they have plenty of them.
Yeah, and that's going to and from Vegas's perspective, maximize the return. And if it is picks or prospects or a combination, package that up to go get some immediate help if that's what they're really looking for. Or they can go out on the free agent market, but still shore up their cupboard a little bit, fill it up with some high picks that Nick Hague is going to command.
All right, but so Canadiens fans are saying right now, they're saying, hold on a second here. The Montreal Canadiens at left D have Mike Matheson, Caden Gooley, Lane Hudson, Jaden Struble, Arbor Jacki. Now, yes, Matheson can play right D. He played it last year at times. Yes, Lane Hudson can play right D. He played it last year at times. But I some of the talks around the Canadiens have been, which second line centerman do they go out and get?
Right.
And which right-handed defenseman do they go out and get if they believe that Mailloux and Reinbacher can't make the jump? The fact that his name is out there, Hague's name is out there, and that he's a left-handed defenseman, shoots left, I think a lot of people are surprised by that. So what does this mean to you? What does it mean to you for Jaden Struble? What does it mean to you for Arbor Jacki? And we're going to discuss Mike Matheson in just a couple of minutes, who a couple of days ago, while the Canadiens were at the Combine, Jeff Gordon and Kent Hughes met with Mike Matheson to discuss, obviously, you would think, the present, and more importantly, the future.
Yeah. And look, the Canadiens have a lot of options. Obviously, you rifled off, 5 names just to play on the left side alone, minus whoever, and then you include whoever else is coming up in the system, and on both sides. And Hague can play the right side as well, more dominant on the left. Canadiens are going to look at all their options. If they have inquired, I think a lot of teams would at the very least inquire because of how sturdy and how desirable a player of Nick Hague's stature is. So you make that inquiry. Hey, if the price isn't as high as we think, then maybe we pounce on this. It gives us an option to package up other assets to go after a second line center if we can't find one in free agency, which seems unlikely. I think if they are shoring up that position, it's more likely to be on the trade route versus anything on the free agent market. So you continue to add NHL quality assets. It gives the Canadiens more of they're banking more assets on their side to see how they can package it up. I don't know on the surface if there's necessarily a fit here, to be perfectly honest, Tony, but again, I understand if the Canadiens are making these inquiries, see if you can buy low on a guy with a team that's cap-strapped. And because you have a good young cupboard plus filled with draft picks, maybe it entices Vegas to make some type of move.
And I remember when the Montreal Canadiens acquired Marco Scandella.
Yeah.
They acquired him from Buffalo, if memory serves me well, and I believe they gave up a second-round pick to get him, I believe. And he was with Montreal for 20 games. And then at the deadline, they traded him to St. Louis, and they got a second and a fourth. So they used him for some amount of time, not a long time, but then they were able to trade him. If you go out and you acquire a defenseman like this, who's going to be a UFA next year at the end of the season, you can go out, you can acquire him, probably get him at a discounted rate because the team is cap-strapped and they're going to want to move a player that they think they won't be able to afford come unrestricted free agency. I'm talking about the Vegas Golden Knights. And then the Canadiens could actually, if they wanted to, they could trade him at the deadline to a team that would be willing to go out and acquire a player like this. But I think still the big question is, if he's got a year left on his contract, why would Vegas want to trade him now? Because they too can keep him and try and trade him at the deadline.
Well, the contract that he's going to want right now, he's also arbitration eligible. So if they can't agree on a contract, and he's going to want multi-years. He's an RFA this summer. He's going to want, I would imagine, 5 years, possibly at a $5 million figure. The longer the term, the more the dollars. It's going to be, if they can't agree, then it forces Vegas's hand to go to arbitration. Then it's going to be a high number anyway that's going to potentially alter what their offseason plans are going to be. So if you have to allocate more money, if they only want to put, let's say, $3-4 million to bank on his side, that gives them, $5-6 million to play with, $7 million to play with on for the rest of the roster. So it's going to be a little bit difficult for Vegas to kind of pull this off. Makes more sense for them to move him now ahead of the draft before they get too buried in their cap situation.
The Sick Podcast is brought to you in part by Accent Insurance Solutions. All insurance isn't created equal, and you know where to find the right solution for you. Accent Insurance. Accent doesn't sell insurance. They shop insurance for you to find the right product right on the money, whatever your insurance needs, home, automobile, or business. The number to call is 514-363-3636, or visit their website, www.accentassurance.com. Who's going to win the Stanley Cup? Go all the way with Betway and get a free bet up to $200 if your first bet loses. Scan the QR code on the screen or click on the link in the details section to create an account. Redeem your welcome offer. Offer is only available for new customers. Terms and conditions apply. Offer is not available in Ontario. Must be 18 years of age and older. And please play responsibly. Once again, Dave Pagnotta of the Fourth Period, Sirius Satellite Radio, and the NHL Network, and myself are live right now from the Ocean Sky Hotel and Resort at 4060 Galt Ocean Drive in the Galt Ocean Mile of Fort Lauderdale. It is an absolutely beautiful hotel, beachfront hotel. It's absolutely wonderful. All right, okay, so now I think, we talked about a 6'6" defenseman, and you said the Canadiens won't be the only team interested in a player like that. The playoffs have showed us, and the Stanley Cup Finals has shown us over the last little while, there's a lot of teams that go far in the playoffs that are big.
Yep.
And there's a lot of teams that go far in the playoffs that have big defensemen. And a lot of those big defensemen, they're worth a lot more in the playoffs than they are in the regular season. They get away with a lot more. They lean on you. They tire you out. You can understand that interest. I think also the Canadiens probably look at a defenseman like this and say, okay, this player has, he's got an X factor. He's established a niche for himself. And I think that's the one problem with Jayden Struble.
Yeah.
Who does everything good, average, but he doesn't have one element where, like, he used to be a real physical force before entering the National Hockey League. We haven't seen that yet. Maybe it'll come out at one point. And in Hague's case, at least you say, you know what? He's big. He's strong. He's tough to move. He can kill penalties. He's a force to be reckoned with. He leans on you. We're talking about a player who has X factors here.
Yeah, and he's already shown it early on in his career, and he's already won a championship. He's got a cup ring. When you get that, when you win once, you want to do it again. You want to almost the next day. Let the week pass, and then, all right, I want to have this feeling again.
And when you win once, you know how to do it.
Exactly. He knows how to do it. He knows what it takes. He knows what he needs to lean on, what he needs to do to execute his strengths to the best of his abilities come playoff time. And what we've noticed, and you're right, big defenseman, what we've noticed now in the last few years in the National Hockey League, if you want to win a championship, you need the skill, but as importantly, you need the big body presence that can keep up with the skill. And that's what Hague can do. Foot speed, I mean, he's not the fastest guy out there, but he can keep up with the pace of play. He can clear the zone. He can be the first one on the puck when it gets dumped into their zone. He's a guy, like we were saying, a lot of teams are going to look at this guy, not just Montreal, Pittsburgh, Philly. There are going to be others that are going to look at him and say, we need to find a way to add this guy to the blue line.
Let's say they target this player. What does that mean for Arbor Xhekaj? We're talking about a very popular player in Montreal, as you know, who, though unfortunately last season, from an advanced stats point of view, probably in a vast majority of categories, was the least efficient of Montreal Canadiens defensemen that ended the playoffs. You take a look at the playoffs. You take a look at also the regular season. Out of all Montreal Canadiens regular defensemen, he had the least amount of ice time. You take a look at the playoffs versus Washington. He didn't play in the first two games versus the Washington Capitals. When he did enter the lineup, in most of the games, he did not have a lot of ice time. Probably had the least on the team for any defenseman. At one point, Marty St. Louis, when asked about, why Xhekaj wasn't in the lineup, he said to members of the media, do you think Tom Wilson is not going to hit guys on our team because Xhekaj is in the lineup? And it looked like he was trying to answer his own question. And in game 4, Tom Wilson delivered an huge bruising hit on Alex Carrier with Xhekaj in the lineup. And Ovechkin did the same thing to Jake Evans. And Ovechkin took a run also at Carrier with Xhekaj in the lineup that night, but he was on the bench when those things happened. What does this mean for Arbor Xhekaj should the Canadiens go out and get a defenseman like this? And I'm wondering, could he be the price to pay to get him? Could that be what Vegas is asking in return?
I mean, look, you're going to lose out on a defenseman. If you could find a way to bring somebody back, his cap hit's not significant. I mean, certainly going to be an option for Vegas in terms of their demands and what they're looking for.
1 year left on his deal at $1.3 million, by the way.
And look, I think with how the Canadiens are developing and how they've retooled and have gone through this rebuild, they haven't felt the urgency, the sense of urgency to really roll guys quicker.
Yep.
And there's an element of patience with certain players that they believe in. And Xhekaj is one of them. Mm-hmm. They believe in this player. They like this player a lot. Now, the right trade falls into place. You twist his arm kind of thing in Ken Hughes. You force his hand. He's going to pull the trigger on almost anybody if it makes the team better. But a year ago, they turned down a first-round pick for Arbor Xhekaj. There were teams that had interest in adding this player, and the Canadiens felt strongly enough to hold on to him. Even through
which teams were most interested in Xhekaj?
Philadelphia was one of them. I could tell you that with certainty. But they looked around and said, you know what, we're going to hold on to him, and we're going to continue to develop this player. It's a learning curve, and history has shown defensemen take a little longer to adjust to the National Hockey League than forwards, for example. Down year last year for him isn't the end of the world, I don't think. I think the Canadiens still believe in him, and if they want to hold on to him and keep him around, even if they add somebody else like a Nick Hague, for example, on that back end, I think there are going to be other pieces that are going to eventually go as well. And it'll be interesting for me to see if a defenseman is packaged up in a deal for a second-line center, what direction they go in there.
What are you hearing about Mike Matheson?
Final year of his contract, under $5 million, $4.875 million on his. He's got a little bit of no trade protection. I think the Canadiens certainly like him. They like the fact that you've got a veteran there that can help guide along some of the younger kids on the back end. But I think the Canadiens want to understand their options. A, do you want to stay here beyond next season if we hold on to you this year?
I would imagine the answer to that. I can't speak for Mike Matheson, but a Pointe Claire boy,
yep.
Family and friends back home. close to his wife's hometown, which is based out of Buffalo? I would imagine the answer to that is yes.
So then
He's from Buffalo. I wouldn't brag about it, but he is.
um,
You got good wings.
Yeah.
You got good chicken wings.
Very good.
Yeah.
Decent football team.
Pretty decent football team.
Yeah.
Not a very good hockey team. No.
And the Sabres are going to be busy over the next few weeks as well.
He knows what time it is.
Yeah, absolutely. If the answer is yes, you want to stay, then we got to figure out what that's going to look like. And if Mike Matheson is going to turn around after the couple of years that he's had, especially, and say, well, based on the market, I want $7 million, $7.5 million, $8 million, more in that vicinity, depending on term, the Canadians might not be overly interested in investing that type of money in a player who's, correct me if I'm wrong, 31.
Yes.
So do you want to invest 6 years or something like that to bring him in, to keep him there and do it at a $42 million clip? So
you would think that the role they envision for Matheson going forward,
yeah,
his ice time will drop.
Yes.
A couple of minutes every year.
And that's the consideration the Canadians are going to have if we're going to, we want to keep this player along. You're not, you know, the potential that's there, but you want to pay for the player that you're going to have. Not, you know, so that's going to come into play here. And there is,
and you also know, if I can, Dave,
yeah,
you also know that in the last 30 years, every team that has won the Stanley Cup have 1 to 3 blue liners on their team over the age of 30.
Right.
So for those who are saying, he's older, just keep the young guys, it doesn't work out that way.
You need to have a balance. You need to have a strong balance. Look at everybody that's won the Stanley Cup in the last few years. There's a balance there.
Yeah.
So, you know, Nate Schmidt's looking pretty good on Florida's back end.
On their third duel.
And he's in his mid-30s. So, you know, you've got to have that balance. You've got to have the right ingredients, part of your Stanley Cup recipe. So from the Habs perspective, that's got to be weighed in as well. So from a cost side of things, okay, your production's going to drop a little bit. Here's how we view you. We feel you're in the 5 to 6 range. If you feel you're adamant about the 6 to 7 or higher range, then I think the Canadians are going to start exploring the market on them. If not, if it's lower, then all right, let's have a discussion with the agent and try to hammer something out.
I want to end with this, and once again, this show was pre-recorded before Game 3 between the Florida Panthers and the Edmonton Oilers. So you're probably watching right now, and you probably know the score. The game's probably over right now, but we're actually doing this in the afternoon, and we're going to be on our way to the arena shortly here. In ending, we had a conversation, you and I, when we started the podcast about playing in Florida, the taxation, the fact that the Florida teams have been in the Stanley Cup Final for the last 6 years in a row, the fact that here we are on Monday, June 9th, and we're happy to be here because it's a beautiful day in South Florida, of course. But I think most people in an ideal world would like to see the season end at the end of May. And you say, well, Gary Bettman's not going to change the schedule. He's not going to do anything.
Yeah.
You know, we haven't talked about this, but I think there's too many games. Yeah. And he's not going to change it because for him, if anything, he'll probably add a couple of games going forward. He wants to increase revenues. I'm at the point right now where if you can remove a couple of games per month, and I've always said this, right? So that you minimize the 3s and 4s and the 4s and 6s and the 6 and 10s. If you can minimize that, I think you're going to see better hockey down the stretch. And now the big question is, how do you make up for those revenues? I'm willing to do anything. Like for me, the players could be a walking billboard, helmets. You're already seeing advertising on the helmets, but jerseys if you have to, socks if you have to, pants if you have to. But I know there's a lot of traditionalists right now that for what I just said is like
taboo.
They're sticking a fork in their eye right now. You can't do that. But I'd just like to get your thoughts before we end it off.
The biggest issue there is the ticket revenue and the gate revenue from the league side of things. And I've talked to some owners about that as well, and they said, look, that's all well and good, but we don't want the players to be walking billboards. We want to find different alternatives to revenue, and this is separate from expansion and the fees that are tied to that. But they want to keep the game as crisp as it can be, and to reduce the season to, let's say, 76 or 74 games, you're taking away 6, 8, maybe 10 if they go up to 84 regular season games, and half of those are at home. They don't feel that there's an alternative to make up that type of gate revenue that's going to keep everybody happy across the board, and that's why that's likely not happening.
Dave Pagnotta of the fourth period of Sirius Satellite Radio and the NHL Network. I thought I was busy. I just ran into somebody who's busier than I am. It's nice to see you, man. Thanks for coming over. I appreciate it. It's nice to see you. Enjoy the hockey game and enjoy the Stanley Cup Final.
You too. Thanks for having me. Always a pleasure. Love coming on.
All right. Thank you very much. There you have it. Look at this. Let's move aside for a second here. Huh?
Who wouldn't want to play here?
And who wouldn't want to stay here at the Ocean Sky Hotel and Resort in the Galt Ocean Mile in Fort Lauderdale? For Sammy and Yellow at Master Control, special thanks to all of our sponsors, Energy Transportation Group, Playground, La Bittt Tibi, Betway, and Accent Insurance Solutions. Thanks for watching. Leave us a 5-star review on Apple. It's our way of feeling the love. The Sick Podcast. Back tomorrow. Same time, same place. Ciao for now.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Sick Podcast with Tony Marinaro on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts. The Sick Podcast is brought to you by Energy Transportation Group, driven to be different. La Vida TB, embrace your true nature. And Playground, your premier gaming destination.